So, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Melanie, and I'm an individualized expression of God. Wouldn't that be a great way to introduce yourself? I'm a divine piece of the divine whole. I'm eternally one with infinite source. I'm in the image and likeness of the eternal as it is expressing in living form. And who are you? Yeah? Isn't that a great way to introduce ourselves? I don't know how many of us would do that out in public, but I think it's a great way. I think the next time I speak anything at my faculty meeting at school, that's what I'll say. Good afternoon, I'm Melanie, and I'm an expression of God. Wonder what people would say. So how do you think of yourself? You know, we hear a lot about who we are here at this place, and we learn about how we are a part of God and never separate. But do you really know that? I think as we go about our day, week to week, that we don't always remember that about ourselves. I'm pretty sure it's true because I witness behaviors, I witness talk, I witness decisions that are made by people all the time, and I can tell that they're not remembering who they are when they do those. So I'm going to ask you a few questions today. Do you think of yourself as a being of wisdom? Be honest. Do you think of yourself as a being of wisdom? I'm not sure I do. I'm going to step off the ledge. There we go. I feel a lot safer now. I'm using my wisdom. Do you think of yourself as being aware of constant unconditional love that is actually the beating of your heart? Do you have an acceptance, a real, true acceptance that all of life is one life? That we are one with ultimate cause and that that's very important to your spiritual growth? I want you to raise your hand, and this is really just for you. Nobody else here really is going to look at see who's raising their hand, but I would like to know how many of you really think about your spiritual growth on a daily or even a weekly basis. You really think about it. See, that's why we're all here together today. I want you to remember that you're actually one with God, that you are absolutely inseparable, and that we are a single entity. It was Jesus who said, I and my Father are one. So I want you to really think about that today, intentionally, metacognitively, decide to make some changes. I want you to know that sometimes it's okay for us to, and I'm sure I do this too, that we often will think of God as somewhere out there in his singleness, right? Living completely and happily while we're over here trying to fix our world. And sometimes we'll think of ourselves as completely separate, wondering where is God and when is God going to show up. Well, wherever we are, God is, right? And because we are part of God's embodiment, we cannot be separate. I know that when I have an argument with someone, I often do not see God in that. I am wrong. See, I'm learning to see that even conflict in its smallest amount, or even its largest amount, is really contrast. And for contrast, I am grateful. Now, isn't that interesting? When I have argument with someone in my family or someone, my life partner, or my parent, or my child, or a coworker, or a friend, I can feel God in that. It's possible. See, we came here for a contrast, is what I believe, because, and I'll review it with you, right? We know happiness because we've seen or felt sorrow. We see light and appreciate it because we've known or been in darkness in our mind, right? And through contrast, when we're here and experiencing contrast, what are we learning from that? We're learning what we really want and what we don't want, and how wonderful our life can be when we can say in the face of what we don't want, this is what I do want. How awesome is it that we can see someone who doesn't agree with us as still a part of God? A part of me? Isn't that awesome? Well, without giving you too much detail that I'm sure you don't want, I experienced quite an argument this week. It was filled with, I'll use some of the words I felt: anger, disappointment, hurt. Have you ever been there? Have you had that kind of experience with someone? Right in the middle of it, I felt like I wanted to, let's say, teach a lesson. You been there? Tell me I'm not the only one, please. Okay, good. You want to teach a lesson? I'm going to use my words, and they're going to be sharp, and I want you to know what I'm saying. Have you ever felt that you wanted someone to hurt too? Right? You hurt me. I want you to be hurting right now. Why am I hurting alone? Right? Yeah. Those are sometimes hard times. But each and every situation that we have is really an event that will give us an opportunity to find the grandest, highest version of who we are. When you find yourself in conflict with someone, you must be awake and aware to what is happening. To remember who you are, then to act as if you are one and not two. We talked about this in a class that we did here at New Hope about the oneness and not the two-ness. That we're always seeing ourselves as separate, as individual, and not together at all. Well, this is what I've learned to do, and I hope that I can share this with you. I've learned to know that what is true of God is true of me, but it's also true of them. You know who them are? The ones that you sometimes have conflict with. So what is it that we really do know about God? What do we know is true? Somebody make me really happy and just shout it out. What is something we know is true about God? God is love. God is infinite wisdom. We know this is true of God. God is infinite knowledge. God is infinite understanding, infinite power, infinite life, infinite joy. So we need to know this then as who we are. That these are all things that are true of us. See, it's in the knowing the truth that we're set free. But this truth has got to be recognized. We've got to start to see it in order to realize it. See, my friends, through this holy instant that we're having right here together right now, our vision is enlarging. And I believe that you want this thought as much as I want this thought, because I think that's why we're here. That our awakening, our mutual wanting to be awakened to who God really is, that this awakening experience then has brought us here together so that we can learn our true potential. I want you to understand today that truth, as we know it, is changeless, and that this message is going to keep coming to you and keep coming to you until you finally can say that your soul is satisfied, that you get it. We know that truth is eternal in nature, that true love can never change, true understanding will not fail you, and true life will never end. I believe that once you are really awakened to this divine knowledge, really awake to it, that you're going to see yourself and others differently. I know you will. I know that you're going to behave differently. I know I will. I know that we can approach conflict differently, see it as good because within God all is good. Remember that contrast is what makes our lives awesomely beautiful. And while it brings up great emotion in us, it gives us just one more opportunity for spiritual formation. So anytime that you're in a situation that brings up a strong emotion, something like jealousy, something like fear, something like anger, pain even, these are great indicators to you. And if you can slow down just a minute and say to God, this is good. This is an indicator to me that I am getting a new opportunity to recreate myself as my highest and grandest version. So now that we're enlightened a little bit more, I think that you'll be able to immediately recognize this in every situation. And you can, and that you will state with certainty what it is that you want. And then you simply just create in that moment your wonderful, living, and powerful life. Let's take a moment to do something active. I've got some paper, and I want you to do something with me. I want you to think of an affirmation that will help you remember that we are all one, not separate at all. And if I can get somebody to help hand those out, pull out a pencil or a pen, or we have a few others. Here, just, okay. I want one too. Thank you. While you're getting paper and pencil, think for a minute of an affirmation that identifies your oneness with Source. Your oneness with Source. Just a single affirmation. It should be short because it should be something that you can read and remember, hopefully by memory, and say every morning. An affirmation that identifies your oneness with Source. And if you'll be really kind, if a few people will share that. Sometimes by sharing we get better ideas that we want to adopt for ourselves. Make it a short one sentence and to the point. Is there anybody who would like to share already? Yes, great.
Mine says to listen first to God and to others.
Listen first to God. I like that. To God and to others. Will anybody else share an affirmation that identifies your oneness with the Source?
I am one with the whole.
I am one with the whole. Thank you. I love those. Does anybody else have one that you'll share?
I am one with God and one with all.
I am one with God. I am one with all. Awesome.
I read recently the story of healing in which this woman said she remembered the moment of healing. She said what she spoke to herself was, now God.
Oh, I like that one too.
Now God.
Now
I give to
God.
you the entirety of my being.
Right.
I give to you my life. And I've shortened that in recent weeks to
I like that. Now God.
or now, I think one of you recently brought the term beloved.
That was Marita.
Oh, now my beloved.
Now my beloved. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
God everywhere now.
God everywhere now. See how those simple affirmations can bring us back to our realization that we are one with God's source. And because we are one, then we have all those likenesses of God, of infinite power, wisdom, love, happiness, joy, peace. Did you have one? Anybody else have one? Okay.
I am one with the allness that is everywhere, always.
Let me see if I can repeat it. I am one.
I am one with the allness.
With the allness.
That is everywhere, always.
Always. Thank you. That's beautiful too. I like the way that it brings you to remembrance of who you are. Now, on the flip side, we're not finished. On the flip side, see if you can create an affirmation now that will identify your spiritual oneness with all of us. Some of them kind of included everyone as one with the source. See if you can create an affirmation now that will help you identify your oneness with everybody else.
I was just thinking that when I'm face to face with somebody, I'm one with you. Repeating myself.
I am one with you. I like that they're short and simple, right? That's what's going to be the best tool for us.
I like to remind myself a little phrasing that there is really only one of us here.
There's really only one of us here. I'll be honest, in my spiritual transformation, I had a much easier time feeling myself as one with God than I did feeling my coworker as one with God. That was harder for me, I'm being honest. It has gotten easier because I've been expanding. And so as I expand in my experience and draw more of that experience to me, I start to get more opportunity to see conflict in a different way, to see it as contrast, to say it is good, because it gives me an opportunity now to learn to see my fellow coworker as part of God too. Would anybody else like to share one that helps us, Rachel, see our oneness with others?
I refer to God as the I am that I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Reddit. Reddit is your statement. Just I am double I am.
Yeah, I like that. Right. Thank you. Yes.
The drop contains the ocean.
The drop contains the ocean. Instead of the other way around, right? Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Anyone else? Yes.
Whoever, whenever, wherever, my sister, my brother.
Whomever, wherever, whenever, my sister, my brother, myself. You could add that. Isn't that great? Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I behold the Christ in you. As a matter of fact, that was kind of, Velma, how I started being able to see people easier as part of God too, is by saying the Christ in me is learning to see the Christ in you. And that makes us all one. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Anybody else have one to share?
Ellen, one more credit to Wayne Dyer.
Okay, I like Wayne Dyer.
On a round planet, there's no choosing up sides.
On a round planet, there's no choosing up sides. Now, in a way, I wish I had a recorder who had written all these down. But we have it on tape. You can always look back and see that, because they're beautiful thoughts that we've shared with each other. What we're doing is we're doing the work of actually spiritually growing. It takes thinking about it and working on it. Now that you've got those two things that you've written down, maybe things that you change after you heard someone else, or a phrase or a word they use that you want to add to yours. Now I'm going to ask you for a commitment to practice this knowledge, because this is knowing, it's knowledge. And I want you to feel assured that you will change because of it. If you can recite that affirmation every morning, and maybe every night, or maybe every hour as you go through your day, it will be easier to see all of us as part of you, as part of God. And our lives will change in drastic, miraculously wonderful ways. If you will, if you can make that commitment, just shake your head. I'll trust you. And I'm going to trust that you're telling me yes and you're not going to show me no. Right? I have that talk with children all the time, because they typically will tell adults yes, but they show us no. Right? We do that too. So I'm going to trust that you're showing me yes and you're going to do what you've asked. I ask that you will be blessed and prosper in those affirmations. And remember that you are one, not two.